Hello and welcome to the Seahawkers podcast. We are live, we are uncatfished, and I don't know how much we're going to use the catfish button, Adam, or that we would use it in a game like this where the Seahawks lose 30-13. It's kind of one of those games like when you fall down 14-0 in the first quarter that it feels like a slow inevitability with moments of hope sprinkled throughout.
Yeah, so with this game, we talked a lot about this being a measuring stick game throughout the week on all our different shows. And it's as if the Packers picked up the measuring stick and then just beat us around the head and neck area for a half and then put it down for about a quarter and a half, picked it up back up again towards the end of the game and just smacked us across the head one more time. It was like, stay down, and message received. They kicked our ass up and down the field. Hats off to the Packers. Far superior team, and we aren't there yet.
Not there yet. It makes you wonder. It does kind of put you in the place of, I don't think that we get there this year, because in terms of a measuring stick game, they made it pretty obvious where we were. Although, it still has us in that area hovering of teams that could and may make the playoffs still. Shoot, we're still in the running to win the division, and that's also possible. But when you look at teams like the Lions and the way we played against Detroit and the way that we played against Buffalo, yeah, it's all kind of painting a picture here late in the season that's okay. Yeah, we had a really nice 4-game stretch, and it got a lot of our hopes up. But now I feel like we can kind of find a good spot in reality, I think.
For sure. And I actually got a text from the DCH just right after the game saying we're 2 years away, and he's probably spot on with that. But with that said, do you want to start with the silver linings, or do you just want to start with the bad? Like, where do you want to go first?
Let's start with Carly Perkins with our live executive producer super chat. She was the first one in with the $4.99 super chat. That was so painful. God, I hope Geno is good next week because the ball leaving Sam's hands scares me. We can beat the Vikings, but only with Geno. And real quick from Ryan 911 999. Go Hawks. I've seen worse.
True fact. There's been some worse games, no doubt.
So maybe let's start with the pain. Carly wanted to start with the pain.
Start with the pain. All right. Well, I think starting with the pain, the number one takeaway I have from this game is that the improvement that we were seeing with the offensive line versus the Jets, and then last week, it was fool's gold. Like the offensive line is still bad. Laumea is not the answer right now. I'm not saying that he can't improve. I mean, he's a rookie coming in mid-season. What is this, his third game that he's been playing here? They just got bullied all day. And, to Simon's point here, I mean, there's some stuff that we'll get to quarterback-wise, but I think that was the biggest bummer. I think the other thing offensively that was interesting, and I'm not sure it was a big difference maker, but did we run precisely 0 plays from under center?
Oh gosh, that sounds right. I mean, definitely once Howell was in there was 0 plays under center. Probably, I would say maybe there was one.
Maybe, and we can't even say that it was just because Olu was injured early in the game, because even up to that point they hadn't gotten under center. So it's not like they were like, "Ooh, we can't run under center with Sundell." Again, I'm not sure that that's the complete difference in the game at all in any way, shape, or form. But yeah, offensively speaking, the offensive line was bad. We were still too reliant on the pass, but I do think they actually made a solid attempt to run the football. And just offensively speaking, that was the problem. The defense was a problem as well in the first half. They just got bullied. We talked about stopping Josh Jacobs ad nauseum throughout the week. Kind of felt like we were overkilling it at some point, and then really in the first half, it was like, oh yeah, okay. Even the first drive, I mean, nobody else touched the ball. They're just like, hey, you know how Josh Jacobs is really good? try to stop him. And we were like, yeah, no, we're not going to do that.
Well, it was either Josh Jacobs or whoever Riq Woolen was covering initially, and he probably had one of his worst halves of football that we've seen. He looked lost, whether it was down the right side, down the left side. So unfortunate game for Riq. But then, I mean, Job, he got beat too later in the game, and just it seemed like our corners didn't have that much of an answer. A part of it was due to a limited pass rush early on. And so everything was just didn't work out for the defense in that first half, whether it was trying to stop Jacobs, that setting up, Love to pick apart the secondary. And 14 points, something that the Packers had only done twice this season is have 2 touchdown drives. They did it against the Titans and they did it against the Dolphins. And so when they came out and they scored on back-to-back drives in the first quarter, I mean, we want the ball and we're going to score against us straight out of the game.
Yeah. Unfortunately, they didn't throw a god-awful pick after doing that. Riq had a rough game, and it felt like in the first half on that first ball to Watson on the sideline, for the life of me, I can't understand why he turned around and stopped running and just started like backpedaling, kind of like towards it. Like that's not. I promise you, Pete Carroll somewhere is like dying inside about that sort of cornerback play. It was awful. It's like he had no idea where he was on the field and where he was in relation to the receiver, more or less, and the ball, which was frustrating. And it was tough. What do we got from Brendan here?
Oh, just echoing your opinion on stopping Jacobs, and that was the one guy. And 26 carries, 94 yards. He has a touchdown. The fact that Geno went out, then it was a little bit lost hope in terms of whether or not that you could bring us back Nate Schutz with the funny joke. I can't believe Adam thought Sam would be good.
I love Nate, man. He's the best. Like that's hilarious. Yeah. And then the big news from this game, obviously, is the Geno injury, and we don't know the status of that to this point. Hopefully it's nothing extremely serious. Hopefully he can be back against the Vikings next week, because there are some things to build on from this game, and there are some silver linings. But overall, as a measuring stick game, this is deflating. It really is.
Yeah, Geno finishes the day 15-19, only missed 4 throws. One of them was a pick in the red zone, which at the time was infuriating. But then we watched Sam Howell throw a pick right over the middle. And at the same time, I was kind of, I mean, Howell was getting pressured so badly out there. So I kind of think he got into chucker mode and was like, well, I'm not getting sacked again, so I'm definitely throwing this. And he goes 5 of 14, 24 yards. He did lead a scoring drive in which Zach Charbonnet got a 24-yard touchdown. So Charbonnet finishes the day 8 of 54. It almost makes you wish that maybe they would have run the ball a little bit more. But again, when you go down 14 points in the first quarter, Ryan Grubb's not going to run his way back into the game.
No, that's not in his DNA. And I would contend that being down 14-0 that early in the football game does not mean that you need to get rid of the running game. But again, I do think he tried enough to where I'm not going to sit here and be like, we got to run the ball more. Like that was the big issue here. Where I do have a problem with Grubb is you talk about the Geno pick, and I'm more pissed off at Ryan Grubb about that pick because earlier in that sequence on that drive, Quay Walker goes down, and they bring in the backup linebacker. And instead of running like mesh or sticks or, Y cross or anything that's going to put the middle linebacker in conflict and try to attack the guy that's fresh off the bench in the game that wasn't expecting to play, Ryan Grubb chooses to run a bunch of concepts for outside the numbers. And he did it again in that play for the end zone there that Geno threw the pick. And it's absolutely infuriating. That's football 1-on-1. Like that's insane.
And not only that, on that play, the reason why the Packers defender was there even to be in position for the interception because Tyler was also running a route in that same area, and the dude could see Geno was going deep and could just jump off of Lockett and pick off the football.
Absolutely. It's a fantastic point, and I'm glad you brought it up because I didn't know if I didn't catch in real time if it was Lockett or which receiver was there. And yeah, he ran the defender right into the play because that's where he's told to go. And it muddies the picture. And I feel like if Tyler's somewhere else and that defender is pulled away, that has a 80% chance to be a touchdown and like a 19% of being incomplete and a 1% chance of a pick. Like that's where it gets frustrating. And there was a couple other plays in the game where is a near pick and there's three dudes like in the same 5-yard bubble, and that's not NFL football.
No, and it does go to prove this will be the I told you so portion of this. People saying you guys are so high on Geno, and it's not like we're like super high on Geno. It's that we're realistic about all of the things that Geno does well, that it makes up for a lot of these things that we're seeing as problems, especially with the offensive line, with the play calling. Once he goes out, it magnifies the offensive line that much more. It magnifies the play calling that much more. And when you're down, it doesn't help that much either. But again, that's the I told you so portion of the show.
Hey, look, Geno's been a fantastic perfume for this offense. I mean, he really covers up the stink of a lot of other deficiencies on this offense. And it's tough to watch Sam Howell come in. And I'm honestly not going to kill Sam all that hard in this post-game reaction because when he got in there, the offensive line had unraveled even further. He was under a crazy amount of pressure. He also invited some of that pressure by holding the ball, doing Sam Howell things, processing slowly. And then, as you pointed out, at one point, he goes, well, I mean, if I'm just going to get immediate pressure, I'm getting this ball out no matter what. And he just starts going into chucker mode, as you appropriately identified, and throws a god-awful pick because that's what Sam Howell does. It's what he did the entire time he was in Washington. And again, I'm not sure that this is a game in his performance in that half that you can look at and be like, look, there it is. That's what Sam Howell is. But it does line up with previous tape too. So, but I think the difference between the two guys is if it's not beyond obvious, man, like go watch another sport.
The other thing that I feel has been kind of a common theme, even through the game in our Discord, you hear it from fans. Well, shoot, even Hawk Blogger had the foresight of trying to set up a registry so Seahawks fans could, if they couldn't make the game, that they could get them to other Seahawks fans. There are a lot of Packers fans there, Adam, and a lot of Seahawks fans not happy with that. I agree. I don't like seeing it either, but our team has to be better to get our own fans there to watch the game too. So it's a little bit of chicken and egg that in terms of reality, like there's corporations that own some of these tickets. There's fans that can't go to the game. They get outbid by Packers fans. There's people who are Packers fans that live in the Seattle area that they will spend whatever it takes to go to this game anyway, because this is the one time their team's going to be in the area and they're going to go. And so there are going to be those cases. I don't have a ton of animosity, but I would agree that I dislike it.
I dislike it. It falls very much in the category of I could give less of a shit. Like I kind of don't care. Also, I had seen a graphic somewhere about the ticket costs of the game, like market costs of each game throughout the season. And those Packer tickets were, I think, the premium ones anyways, were closer to $950, right? So if you're a season ticket holder, you're trying to recoup some of your costs for the year because let's face it, the economy's been tough, I think, for everybody in the country. I don't care who you are or what political stripes from. It's not a political statement at all. It just is what it is. This was one that you would sell, and because it is the most money you're going to get back. And I think your point is dead on, like absolutely dead on. This team's better. then yeah, you're not selling those tickets for nothing. You ain't missing that game.
And opposing fans aren't going to pay then that much money to come see the game because they're like,
oh yeah,
I'm not paying all that money to go watch my team lose.
100%. 100%. It's a great point by you. I think you're dead on.
No, it's a little bit of both, but I mean, none of us as fans like to see that, obviously. We were at the Buffalo game, and we saw plenty of Buffalo fans making a bunch of noise. Wasn't great.
Yeah. And also, too, like, the games where there have been a lot of other fans, I mean, we're playing teams that are having years that you're like, hey, I saw them when, I mean, the Packers could make a deep playoff run. Hell, they could even make the Super Bowl with Detroit being as banged up defensively as they are. I'm not a huge Minnesota believer, but I mean, they're a good team. So, yeah, I can see why, there's a lot of opposing fans for those games because they're just fired up for their team too. But we can get off fans, talk about things on the field. One of the silver linings I was going to talk about, I think is kind of a false silver lining. And that's the consistency from JSN and what he's doing in the receiving game, which statistically speaking has been significant. And I'm happy for him. And I'm glad to see that he's had this production, and it's exciting because he's a quality football player. But what it's feeling like here is that the yards are getting a little Trey McBride-y, if I'm going to verb Trey McBride, where it's like, cool, like you caught a bunch of balls, you had a bunch of yards, but it's just not all that impactful in overall team success.
That played out in this game. I mean, 10 catches, 83 yards. He had 12 targets. It was interesting that DK only finished the day with 3 targets. And there were times in this game where I was looking to see where DK was on the field, like in big-ish moments, and he wasn't on the field. And that part seemed weird to me. And so I want to, that was more though, I think when Sam Howell was in, and it may not have mattered too much, but at the same time, if it's a third down and DK is not on the field, that seems weird to me.
It does. I don't know who's making that decision or why, but that is a little weird. But when he is on the field, something I've been talking about a lot on the pod is the idea of, like, it's insane to call JSN the number one on this team. It's insane. I'm sorry, Clinton. It's insane. And this game highlights that perfectly. Like, when even Chris Collinsworth can show you all of the attention that DK draws down in, down out, and how that is allowing JSN to do his work, which again, he still has to do his work and he's been good at it. It just shows you the value of DK Metcalf.
Oh, exactly. And they did a good job of that showing up on the broadcast. The tight ends today, a lot of targets, not a lot of catches. Hard to devise exactly. Well, I think we can probably point more towards Sam Howell because Geno did only have 4 incompletions, but man, just a tough day overall to try and diagnose like any of the negative stuff. One of the positive things you point that out as a false positive thing, but how about this defense going into halftime down 17 points, coming out at a halftime and limiting the Packers to only a field goal? They got the late touchdown, but they did enough in that third quarter to make you go, oh, well, the defense kind of seemed to get the Jacobs thing figured out a little bit toward it was in the fourth quarter. Then the Packers said, well, we're going to run outside now with our receivers, and picked up some first downs that way. But in the third quarter, they figured it out to the point to where it gave you a little bit of hope.
Absolutely. Caused a turnover. It gives you a shot. The defense they played so hard in the second half, and they gave this team a shot. And with Geno's injury, then it was almost certain that the offense wasn't going to be able to do their part to kind of get you back in the game. And I think this is the biggest silver lining of this game by far. I think that defensive performance as a whole, until it was kind of clear right there at the end when it's like, okay, the offense isn't going to get this together, and we're not going to be able to score the points, and they give up the late touchdown. But really, in the second half, I thought their performance was excellent. I thought Mike's adjustments were enough to give this team a shot. And I think that that's something you can hang your hat on for the rest of this year and for years to come. I'm excited about that, especially when you combine it with all of the other performances in these last 4 or 5 games. And it just all paints a pretty clear picture that they've got a lot going for them defensively. Are they elite yet? No, not quite. And you saw that in the first half. Even elite defenses can be taken advantage of for a quarter or a half. It's a matter of what are you able to do? What's your counter? And do you have any counters? And that was some of the things that we were seeing with Pete later on in the seasons is like there were no counters. Like there was nothing you could do. And
right.
in this game, Mike seemed to really go all in on stopping the run between the tackles and slanting defensive linemen and trying a few things there. And it really did help. And it worked. And the guys executed and they fought their tails off.
Ram Faithful 39 in the chat saying, let's agree it's good. The whiners are in the cellar where they should be.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yep, that's true. To Ram Faithful, though, like, hey, man, and I appreciate the Kumbaya comment and all of that. But when Collinsworth, during the broadcast, is like, Rams fans are happy. It's like today, right now, like, we need that. I don't need that, dude. Like, come on.
No, we don't need that. And really, it's going to come... Whether or not the Seahawks won or lost this game, it doesn't really change anything as far as the team needing to relatively win out the season. At the very least, they need to keep pace with the Rams up until week 18, and that's going to be and as long as the Seahawks can do that, keep pace with the Rams, then that game will decide the division ultimately. So we'll watch that. We've got the Snail with the $2 super chat saying, what is Ryan Grubb's red zone percentage? Well, the Hawks were really in the red zone a ton. There was the Geno Smith pick, which was, you could put some of that on Geno. You could probably put some of that on Grubb. I think it's kind of been middle of the pack, though. As much as it seems like it's been a disaster, I think from when I've looked at those numbers, it's been about middle of the road for the entire NFL.
Yeah, that's surprising because it does feel like a sad face emoji like in the red zone, and it wasn't good today. And another silver lining for the team, offensively speaking, even though they had to be reliant on just targeting JSN and really leaning on the pass and running everything out of shotgun, they did move the ball well in the green zone between the 20s. They absolutely did, and gave themselves a shot. Another thing in the negative, this was right where I was going with the comment here from Clinton. This was one of the more ballless decisions I've seen Coach Mike make to this point. I can't understand not going for it there, even after the penalty. It makes zero sense to me.
Ballless or strategic? Because Michael Dixon's punt. Michael Dixon's punt, I don't know why he doesn't just punt that way all the time to make the guy fumble it, but he makes the punt returner fumble it. We couldn't get on the football. I'm just saying, I think we had a better opportunity to score points with our defense on the field than with Sam Howell at quarterback. And if I put Coach Mike in that mindset, then I think it was a very smart decision.
That's mean. That's mean, and I'm here for it. But I just, even if it is Sam Howell back there, I mean, at that moment in the game, late in the game, you needed to go for it there. That was, your chances were diminishing quickly to have an opportunity to pull this out of the fire. And
there were enough fans in the stadium, they let Mike know about it too. Yeah,
that's true fact. That's true fact. And I really do wish he would have gone for it there. I know somebody in the Discord had posted that the analytics liked going for it there as well. So, well.
It makes sense. We've got Stodgy Mantis with the $4.99 super chat saying, holy cow, I almost didn't recognize Adam. Nice clean cut. This game is a disaster, but I hope they can turn it around in the next game. Go Hawks. Adam, they've got the Minnesota Vikings on the horizon. And we're going to be able to watch that game tomorrow night. All Seahawks fans get to watch Monday Night Football, and they play the Bears, I believe, which I don't know if it's going to help us learn anything about this Vikings team with 6 games to go before the next time we face.
Yeah.
Or 6
It's good.
days on the, did I say games? 6 days on the calendar after Monday.
I was picking up what you were putting down. Yeah. Yeah. No, to Staji's comment here, same haircut for a while now. Like I've had it for a good month and a half. And since I'm old, it doesn't grow very fast. So it's about the same. Beard
It's
about
the
the
lighting.
same.
You got good lighting somehow.
And it's awful. I guess it's just one lamp in the Airbnb here, and then maybe it's just the headphones that make me, because now I got the earbuds in tonight,
yeah.
so maybe it's the
It's
headphones that
it's
make
a
me look.
slimming situation with your head.
Yeah, it's almost like I ran an old photo through AI and made myself look better.
Nobody does that.
Nobody does that. Inside joke on the Discord, and I'm going to tell you guys right now. Go ahead and subscribe and like if you can. Like, we appreciate it. This is tough to come on and talk about after losses and all that. But if you want to get in the flock, $3 a month gets you in the Discord. And I'll tell you what, even through a tough game like that, like a really tough game, being able to go back and forth and commiserate and have some copium shared among all of us and the different perspectives from everybody that's in there is fantastic. It's an amazing game day experience, and it's the only thing that made this game enjoyable today.
It was a fun time, especially in games where the outcome is, we knew what the outcome was going to be. I think once it got to the fourth quarter and you're down by 3 possessions. So yeah, we have a little fun. It was a good time.
Yeah,
Seahawks, it was not a good time, but we hope that coming up against this Vikings team, it can be good again. We can enjoy those good times against this Vikings team. It's going to be a tough matchup, and after that we have the Bears again. It's got to hold serve to stay with the Rams. We almost, Adam. Oh, going back to things that happened today that I wish would have happened. The Saints, they had the ball and they score in the final moments of the game. The Saints needed to beat the Commanders to, wash the Commanders down a little bit more in the standings. Because, hey, if we can't make the playoffs as a division winner, then we want to make it as a wild card team.
Yeah.
Commanders needed to lose. The Saints go for 2. They fail. Commanders win. It was very unfortunate.
That's frustrating. I didn't see any scores today. In fact, coming on and doing the pod tonight, this is the 3rd straight day I'm with neighbor Brandon driving 10 hours plus a day, over 1,000 miles, and just rugged. I'm exhausted. And for that, I mean, you should bow down to Derek's peer pressure there and go ahead and like. Yeah, appreciate it.
This might be a Packers fan in the chat. Jimmy Hoffa saying Rashawn Gary and Clark are superstars. Rashawn Gary, he put on a clinic for one of our young offensive linemen today, and that was not very fun to watch.
Oh, and he owned Noah Fant on the edge in the run blocking scheme. Rashawn Gary, also, I'm mad at him personally because this Packers, and this is another thing to talk about in terms of the offensive line and like how the overall performance today was disappointing. The Packers defensive line hadn't been known for being great in pass rushing and all of that stuff and getting pressures. And they really were just kind of owning the offensive line. And then Rashawn Gary gets a sack. And that was one of my bets, is just for him to not get a sack. So thanks a lot for that, man. Like, it's my cold year on Prop Stars. Which, again, another cool show that we do at the end of the week. We do 5 shows a week, a betting show that's Seahawks only. And you can go there and watch me fail miserably this year and watch Wilson and Clinton do well.
Yeah. So
yes, Flocktimus.
That's true. That's very true. So yes, Keith's saying both have 2 first names, so they're automatically suspect. And they should be banned from playing. We need to put that out there next time. And how about not hurting Geno next time, Packers? Like, I know it's quote unquote legal by broadcast standards to go at a quarterback's feet if they're up in the air, but that's one of those things that I don't understand. Like, what does it matter if ultimately they're up in the air, but then you land on them?
Yeah, it's an interesting rule. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't know that was the rule. I didn't. That was new to me. I had no idea that you couldn't be in the air and get hit and get a penalty. Like, you just can't do that apparently. And so Geno having he jumped about 3/4 of an inch off the ground to make a quote unquote jump pass And then they be able to hit Geno low and hurt his knee and get away with it. And that's a bummer. That hurts my feelings.
It just leads me to believe, Adam, that if this game was completely on the refs, and we would have won if not for the officiating. And that's all I'm going to say about this game is that we got screwed.
Did you just say that in bold italics? Is that what happened? Another inside Discord joke, folks. So there you
another inside Discord jokes. There were a lot of bold italics being used, and yes, I did just use them there. That was what I did.
Fantastic. I love the sarcasm, man.
Well, that's what we got. We've got sarcasm. We've got a Seahawks loss. We've got to deal with that this week, and that's what we're going to be dealing with, unfortunately.
For sure,
but we're going to have Packers fans on our side next weekend.
That's true. Totally deflating. The Seahawks are going to have like a 3, 4, and a 5-inch mark across their face from getting smacked around with that measuring stick. And, whatever former copium all you folks need tonight, I'm going with the claw. The claw's the law. Like, I recommend it. It's gonna help your deal. And let's see if they can get it turned around next week against the Vikings, even though that's a scary matchup as well. But been an up and down season, a roller coaster, and man, it's been fun.
And I think with that,
there's only one thing left to say.
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.